In this video, I'm going to identify 9 of my favorite wines that are currently selling for around $50 per bottle, give or take. As usual, there's a wide variety of wines, including red wines, white wines, and a number of different countries and regions represented. This video, however, will go a little bit heavier into Italian wines, as 3 of the 9 wines are from Italy. Over the years, I've frequently recommended the excellent second wines from Super Tuscan producers Sassicaia and Ornellaia. Those wines sold for around $50 per bottle for a long time, but unfortunately in recent years they've been creeping up steadily in price, and Guidoberto is now selling for around $65 per bottle, or even more than that in the United States. The Antinori competitor to Sassicaia and Ornellaia is Guado el Tasso, and Guado el Tasso also has an excellent second wine, but this one is still selling for around $50 a bottle in the United States. This is the 2022 Antinori Guado el Tasso Cont'Ugo Bolgheri Rosso. As with most second wines that are based on Bordeaux blends, this one is Merlot dominant, as that helps with approachability. And the good thing about this wine is that it's ready to enjoy with food immediately. It features flavors and aromas that include mixed red and black fruit, licorice, and mixed herbs and spice. This wine is well structured, but the tannins are smooth and polished. You can enjoy this wine with food immediately, and it will certainly last in your cellar for 7 to 8 years or more. More than 50 years ago in Chateauneuf-du-Pape, the Avril and Durieu families joined forces and created Domaine Durieu. Their vineyard holdings now include some incredibly old vines, including some parcels that date back to before World War I. Better still, these vines are located on the famous Galets Roulés, which are ideal for the production of extremely high-quality Chateauneuf-du-Pape. So the next top $50 wine is the 2022 Domaine Durieu Lucile Avril Chateauneuf-du-Pape. This wine was well received by critics. It's a blend that consists of 80% Grenache and equal parts Mourvèdre and Syrah. The Grenache and Mourvèdre are matured in concrete, and the Syrah matures for around 12 months in new oak. This is an extremely impressive wine that definitely delivers at this price point. This is a medium-bodied wine with flavors and aromas that include cherry, pepper, garrigue, and mixed spice. This is a wine you can enjoy immediately or over the next 10 to 15 years. One quick side note, while I enjoy most of my wines with substantial age on them, Grenache, and Chateauneuf-du-Pape in particular, is a notable exception to that. Certainly I will age some of my bottles for at least 8 to 10 years, but I'll also oftentimes try at least 1 or 2 bottles right after I accept delivery or within the first year or so after I receive the wine. On this channel, I oftentimes like to point out underrated wines. Certainly one of the themes that I've been recommending on this channel is wines from Alsace, France, and another is Riesling. So this next wine has the best of both worlds, and it's underappreciated and underrated for 2 different reasons. It's a Riesling, but it's also from Alsace. The fruit that goes into this wine is all Grand Cru fruit. Better still, it's from extremely old vines that are more than 50 years old, and the parcels that go into this excellent wine are all planted mid-slope. This is the 2022 Schoffit Clos Saint-Thibault Ramgen de Thann Grand Cru Riesling. This is wine that seriously over-delivers at this price point. This producer has actually been firing on all cylinders, and I would encourage you to try some of their other wines as well, but this one in particular is a standout, as it's perhaps the best vintage of this wine that they've ever produced. This wine is an extremely intense, concentrated, mineral-driven Riesling, but despite its power, it's also extremely elegant. Just to be clear, this is not a sweet wine. It's a dry wine. Descriptors include lemon, tangerine, citrus zest, whetstone, and mixed spice. A little more than a year ago, I visited Australia's Yarra Valley for the first time, and I came away extremely impressed with their cool climate, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir. One problem, however, is that many of the excellent wines from Yarra Valley are not exported or distributed broadly at all. Many of those wines don't leave Australia at all, and those that do only go to a few other countries, and typically not to the United States. For the most part on this channel, I'll generally only recommend wines that are easy to obtain. But fortunately, one of my favorite wineries when I visited Yarra Valley is also a wine that is broadly distributed, namely Giant Steps. Giant Steps is a winery that was founded in Yarra Valley back in 1997 with an emphasis on single vineyard wines. This winery was named after the famous John Coltrane album, as the founder was a big jazz lover. One of the reasons I'm such a big fan of Giant Steps is that I really appreciate their non-interventionist approach to winemaking, which emphasizes the purity of the fruit. For example, they use all gravity flow in their winery, and they don't fine or filter their wines. While you can't go wrong with any of the Giant Steps wines, this next wine is a new addition to their lineup, specifically the 2024 Giant Steps Circle of Fifths Pinot Noir. 2024 was a classic vintage in Yarra Valley. This wine is a blend of fruit that comes from all of their single vineyards, most of which are located in the Upper Yarra. They use 40% whole bunches, which adds some intriguing aromas to this wine. You can expect flavors and aromas of wild black cherry, raspberry, violets, and mixed herbs and spice. Next up is a wine that comes from a historic producer that was founded back in 1896. This winery is located at the top of Serralunga d'Alba, and the views are absolutely breathtaking. If you're in Piemonte, I highly recommend a visit, as I really enjoyed my experience there a few years ago. It's getting very difficult to find a high-quality Barolo that sells for less than $100 per bottle, so the 2021 Massolino Barolo represents exceptional value at around $50 per bottle. Massolino is a traditional Barolo producer that matures its Nebbiolo in large Slavonian oak casks. They completely overhauled the winery about a decade ago, and they've been using this new state-of-the-art equipment to produce their wines since 2016. Quality has never been higher, and that's particularly true with the outstanding 2021 vintage. This wine is a blend of Nebbiolo that comes from different villages, and that helps to add complexity to this wine. You can expect typical Barolo flavors and aromas of cherry, roses, tar, earth, and mixed spice. There's ample acidity and prominent tannins. Unlike some of the Super Tuscan producers mentioned at the beginning of this video, I think that in general many Bordeaux producers have done an excellent job keeping a lid on prices. For example, this next wine was one of my favorite second wines that I tried during my recent trip to Bordeaux, and yet it still sells for around $50 per bottle, like it has for the past 4 or 5 vintages. This is the Les Griffons de Pichon Baron from the outstanding 2022 vintage. Pichon Baron has 2 different second wines, but this one is definitely my favorite. I tried the 2018 vintage when I was at the winery, and it was showing quite well, but the 2022 vintage is arguably even a little bit better. This wine is a blend that consists of 50% Merlot, 46% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 4% Petit Verdot. This wine matures in 40% New French oak for around 18 months. This is a full-bodied concentrated wine with layers of flavors that include blackcurrant, graphite, tobacco, crushed stone, mixed spice, and earth. The next top wine for $50 a bottle comes from a winery that's undoubtedly the youngest producer that I'm featuring in this video. But despite its youth, it's making some absolutely world-class wines, and in fact this wine is definitely the one that received the most critical acclaim of any of the wines that I'm featuring in this video. The owners acquired land back in 2014 in the prestigious Dundee Hills area of Willamette Valley, very close to Archery Summit and Domaine Drouin. This land used to be a walnut orchard, but after they cleared it, they began planting Pinot Noir and Chardonnay in 2015. I've previously featured the outstanding Pinot Noir from this producer, but it's high time I also mention their outstanding Chardonnay, namely the 2023 White Walnut Chardonnay, which comes from this producer's namesake single vineyard in the Dundee Hills. This is an absolutely stunning wine that reminds me a little bit of a Pliny Montrachet. This is a relatively full-bodied wine for a Willamette Valley Chardonnay, and you can expect flavors and aromas that include vibrant citrus fruits such as lemon and grapefruit. There's also a rocky mineral quality that I appreciate, and some spice. Just a tremendous wine, and one that I cannot recommend highly enough. Contrary to popular belief, you can still get some excellent Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon for as little as $50 per bottle, even from the tremendous 2023 vintage, which will ultimately go down as one of the better Napa Valley vintages in recent memory. This next wine, for example, is a blend that consists of 95% Cabernet Sauvignon, 3% Cabernet Franc, and 2% Merlot. It matured for 19 months in 2/3 New French oak. While this wine has impressive concentration, it's also extremely elegant with ample acidity and polished tannins. You can expect flavors and aromas that include mixed black, blue, and red fruit, floral notes, and some spice. This is the 2023 Venghi Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon Silencieux. Next up is one of my very favorite Sangiovese wines from all of Tuscany. This is a wine that comes from a family-owned producer that purchased a historic 600-hectare estate in southern Chianti Classico back in the 1960s. This wine represents a little bit of an unusual situation, as when I was doing research for this video, I found out that the 2020 vintage for this wine still sells for around $50 per bottle, perhaps slightly higher, although the 2021 vintage is selling for much closer to $70 per bottle. The reason? Well, for the 2021 vintage, this wine has been reclassified as a Gran Selezione, which is the highest quality level in Chianti Classico. The 2020 vintage did not yet have Gran Selezione on the label, so even though that wine is extremely high quality and close to the quality level of the 2021 vintage, it sells for a much lower price. Based on my searching, there's still plenty of this wine in retail channels, as they made more than 4,000 cases of it, and around 1,800 cases were imported into the United States. So you should still be able to track down the 2020 Felsina Rancia Chianti Classico Reserva. This impressive wine received a 95-point score from 3 different well-known critics. This is a wine that's powerful yet elegant, with descriptors that include cherry, plum, orange peel, mushroom, and spice. There's ample acidity and polished tannins with an impressive long finish. You can enjoy this wine immediately, as it's in the early stages of its drinking window, and it will cruise in your cellar for 15 years or more. Chianti Classico is very much one of my favorite wine regions in Italy, and in my opinion, it's on the upswing. If you'd like to learn more about some of my favorite Chianti Classico wines, or better still, if you'd like to visit and to learn which wineries I recommend visiting, be sure to watch this video that's linked above.